All righty. Yes, we are live. I am just so excited. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Funke Afolabi Brown. I am the Restful Sleep MD. I am just so thrilled and honored to have my friend and coach here, Dr. Latifat, MoneyFitMD, and we're going to be talking about money, mind drama, and what keeps women up at night. I was trying to find a third M, but it just didn't work. So bear with me. So if you're on here live, just hit hashtag live. I'm going to just make sure I have it here on my phone. And then if it's a replay, definitely come around and let us know. So good to have you, Dr. Latifat.
Oh, man,
Can you
thank
tell
you.
us just a bit about the awesomeness that is you?
Oh my goodness. Zero pressure at all. But thank you for having me. We were arguing before we went live whose privilege it is to be here. I'm like, no, the privilege is mine, but we split it 50-50. So thank you for having me. And thank you to the people that are watching for taking the time to watch. I am Dr. Latifat. I'm a physician, I'm a GI doc, and I'm also I guess you could call me a money coach, but I just literally came off of a conversation with my team where we're like figuring out what the heck I am. And it's money coach, but I'm more than a money coach. I'm a mindset coach, more of a wealth, to be honest, wealth coach. And I think I'm more of a financial liberation coach, to be honest with you. I really just want physicians to be all that we were made to be. And I see money as a huge part of that. So I help women physicians see the power that already exists within them to be wealthy, and then we give them the tools and the community to put those together, and they become more themselves, and it really is just a privilege to do that for women physicians.
And I'm a testament to that, like 100%. It's beyond just the money, right? Because as I've done this, as I've been doing this work with you, I'm realizing that there's a lot of stuff. And then the money issues are sort of almost like the fruits of that. And so, the work you do is really digging deep into where is all this coming from, where these thoughts coming from that's making you sort of act the way you're acting, right? So, and it's just been really mind blowing to discover that. And I love what you said about the fact that you're building wealth. It's not just money, because when we talk about wealth, it's not just like what's in your bank account. Of course, that counts, but it's this whole holistic perspective. And so, yes, yes, thank you. Thank you for what you
Absolutely.
do.
Thank you for trusting me to be part of my community. That means a lot. And
Oh,
yes, it's true. You are an example of what I do and why I do what I do, and seeing everything that you do, what you're creating, because now money is not something you worry about. Wealth is something that you understand. You understand you have the capacity, and you're going to do so many crazy things. And I can't wait to be a part of all that
mm,
craziness.
mm, 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 mm. Let's go, let's go, let's go. So excited. So, really, what I wanted us to take a little bit of we'll keep this light. We won't take too long, right? Because I know women and some of the ADHD issues and focus and things like that. So I just really want us to go into a little bit of just the mind drama, because a lot of the work I do is around those thoughts we have when we're about to sleep, right? As soon as our head hits the pillow, the churning starts. And a lot of them are deep rooted around finances, financial security, shame in some situations, the hustle, So some of those thoughts end up impacting our ability to fall asleep or to stay asleep. And then at the end of the day, we start to make decisions and we start to make choices that stem from those thoughts. So maybe we could even start with where's all this mind drama coming from, and what are some of those elements that you tend to see in your work?
Absolutely. And I think it's so, I mean, I literally had you coach the women in our program because I think they go hand in hand. And if you're not sleeping or resting, that is a part of wealth that you're not enjoying. And when we think about all the things we're thinking about at night, right, we go to sleep and we wake up anxious, right? We wake up anxious. And so there's just no rest. And the thing is this, the way that I think about it is I truly believe, and these are my thoughts. We all have access to our thoughts. Mine doesn't have to be yours, but my thought is that the moment that we're born to be wealthy. That's
Mm,
my thought. We're born to be wealthy. And what happens is we're born into our family. We go through our life and we're picking up thoughts along the way. And there are things that we're taught, but if you and I are honest with ourselves, a lot of the things that we do are not just what we're taught, but like the things that we actually see. So when we're in our family, we're subconsciously gathering stuff from our families about how they did money or not do money, how they talked about money or not talk about money, how they said, we don't have money, even though we had money, how, the things we spend money on, we're learning just by existing in our families. And then,
Mm,
we go throughout the world, throughout life, where if you are a physician, you go through med school, undergrad, you get those debt, you become a resident, and people tell you don't talk about money. If you ask about how much you're going to earn before an interview or during an interview, they're like, you must hate humans and not like patients. Even though hospitals get paid, nurses get paid, everybody gets paid, but we're physicians, and God forbid we ask about money. So there's a lot of these things that we're taught, don't talk about it. So that brings shame to us
mm,
when we do talk about it, right? And now we go into becoming attendants, and now we're getting this increased paycheck, but no one has had the time or taken the time to teach us not just about money in terms of the numbers, but how to actually be a good processor of money,
mm,
how to have a good, healthy relationship with money, how spending is not horrible, spending is
mm,
not made by the devil, spending is one of the best things we can do in this world, but how to spend in a way that's not poverty mindseted, but spending in a way that is wealth minded, expansive, wellness based, in a way that helps you prioritize things that brings you more money into your life in the medium, long term, and even short term, but all this other stuff that no one is talking to us about. And
mm,
from my own experience as well, and I always tell people, like, how do I know this stuff? Because I'm literally, this is all my baggage and story as well, right? And the thing is, when I was ready for help, there was no spaces that felt safe for me to have those conversations. There was a lot of judgment, a lot of
mm,
shaming that's happening. And so here's what happens when I go to bed with all this internal drama and all this external drama, and there's no healthy space for us to like get it out and get the help that we need. And you wonder why we're stressed out about money. So that's kind of like the journey. I call it like the money story that we all go into. But now, as adults that are badass and grown, it's time for us to now take ownership and decide for ourselves, what do I actually want my finances to look like? What do I want my wealth journey to look like? What do I want money to look like? Because whether you and I accept it or not, the bottom line is how we handle money affects our kids, affects our nieces, our nephews, and affects the impact that we can make in this world.
mm,
So if we don't address this, we're always going to feel burnt out. We're going to feel grindy. We're never going to sleep completely well. But what I want to encourage people is, instead of letting this be problems that we don't solve that leads to constipation of worry, let's solve this problem by bringing it out into the open and finding spaces and communities where we can actually get actionable ways of
mm.
improving and resolving this so we can sleep well at night.
Oh gosh, I love all of that. And that's what I dare say, that's what we want as women. We don't, the things we want end up not being that complicated.
That complicated. We just want to
We,
sleep well and do good things in the world and go
yes,
shopping sometimes and buy properties and assets.
yes, yes, yes. But then the culture, our training, our experiences has really shaped those thoughts. And so it sounds like we're having to dismantle a lot of that. And that's what I see in the power of, that's one thing I've experienced with the power of coaching. Like, where's all this coming from, really, that then ends up with this result? And so what we see is tossing and turning. What we see is taking, like, 4 to 5 shifts, for work that deprives us of even the opportunity to eat, talk of sleep, right? And so where do we then start from? Where do you suggest we start? Like, you now have this woman, right, who is high achieving, she works really hard, she takes care of kids, she takes care of patients, she's serving, but she's not sleeping because no matter how hard she's doing it, she's hardly making ends meet. She's not building that wealth that she would like, and it's impacting her all over. It's impacting her sleep for one thing, but it's just really impacting her view overall. So and she's ashamed. She's
Yes,
ashamed.
yes. I think that you summarized it really, really well. And I think the very, very basic step, first step, is being able to verbalize what you
Mm,
actually want. what you
Wow.
actually want. And I tell people that our needs are valid, but our wants are also valid. Like,
Mm,
what do you actually want? Because we
mm,
have so much shame about it that we don't even speak out about what we want. And you don't have to speak out about it, but take a journal and just write it down. What do you want?
mm.
Ain't nobody gonna tell you I want to budget better. Who wants that crap? Right? The problem is that we think that budgeting is how we're going to get to where, like, and that's the only benefit of budgeting is the means to an end. But a lot of times we
Mm,
treat it like the destination. Like, what do you want? I want to not worry about money. I want to be able to take a break. I want to be able to know that I can call in sick and take off without worrying about my finances.
mm,
I want to be able to take a sabbatical. I want to be able to work for myself. I want to be able to pass on knowledge to my kids. And when I'm old and gray, which I hope we all get to, I want to be able to pass on knowing that my kids are going to be okay. Like, those are
mm.
like, let's just say what we actually want and just getting that out. Y'all, I'm a GI doc, so Dr. Flinken knows it's all about the poop all day. Like, just getting that out there literally can make you crash and slip because finally you got the first poop out, right? You're no longer obstipated. And now let's just get that out on paper. And then the next step becomes, how do we do that? And
Mm,
the way I like to tell people is I like to keep it simple. I don't like
mm,
complicated. It's not that I can't do complicated. We all are smart enough to do complicated, but
mm,
why do it complicated if we can keep it simple? So the
mm,
first question is just ask yourself, where's your money going? Like,
mm,
I don't care about what budget and app, like, where's your money going? Do you like what your money is going to? Like, in 6 months from now, are you going to be grateful and happy you spent the money that way? Or will you wish you had the money back? Simple question like that. Are you spending on assets only? Or are you spending on liabilities only? And I
mm,
believe in diversifying. I think it's not healthy to spend only on assets, which are things that increase your net worth. And I don't think it's healthy to spend only on liabilities. So, how do we diversify what you're spending on so that not all of your money is going into things that are going to lose value and get destroyed, but your money is going into things that's going to put money in your pocket in 5 years? It's going to grow your net worth in years from now, and just diversifying that. Honestly, if those are the only three things that we talk about, meaning number one is what do you actually want, right? Where
mm.
is my money going? Am I buying assets? Am I buying liabilities? Like, literally, if that's where we start, that's going to be a whole lot farther than a lot of people take their finances.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. And everything you've said right now, literally, nothing involves an app. Nothing involves not in it. It's all just sitting with, let's first deal with this thought pattern. And I think it's just so empowering. And the journaling, you had me at journal because I'm a fan of journaling, even as part of your routine. And so I would dare say, of course, maybe you don't want to do this just before you hop into bed because it may make your mind start racing because you're now doing like calculations about how you're going to build wealth, but really setting out time and saying, okay, I'm having a lot of drama around money and sitting to say, what do I want? And it's free, like there's no cost to it, right? This is one thing you always say, like just let your mind just run free and let it out there. And I think this is so powerful. And also the curiosity in terms of where's your money going? Because a lot of times I feel like that's one of the reasons, just even personally from my own journey, that was one of the things that put me, I mean, I felt ashamed because I was like, I don't know where my money is going. Just know it's going and it's going very fast. And it just feels, I feel like I was out of control, right? You almost feel like there's this like freight train that's running off without brakes and I'm
Yes.
supposed to sleep. So that was something that I literally had to take very seriously. And I love what you suggested about come from a place of curiosity because I did feel guilty, but no, it wasn't that. It was more observe. It's an observation. It's like an experiment. Like, what is it? It's an observational study. Okay, that's interesting, right? So, how navigate that for us? Because I think that's one big piece. It's the either, and I suspect it's around the balance between, okay, assets, liabilities. Women want a lot of nice things. Like, how do we strike that balance where we then now don't come around and say, oh gosh, why did I do that? Help us, just talk us through that, talk us off that ledge.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before I talk about that, I want to just mention what you talk,
mm,
in terms of like being curious, 100%. And
mm,
the beauty of a lot of your audience is you have a lot of physicians in your community. And what I
yeah.
tell people is, as physicians, we're actually a pretty expert at this, right?
Mm,
Because we're all taught to use like the SOAP format, SOAP format, right?
mm,
And the way that I think about it, everything about money is just like objective. It's like the vital signs. Your patient comes in and they're like, their blood pressure is like 100 and I don't know, 79 over 90. You don't go, woe is me, I suck, I'm horrible. You don't. You just go, okay,
mm,
here's the vitals, here's my assessment, and here's my plan. Like that level
mm,
of lightness that we use in our clinical practice when we're looking
mm,
at patients' evaluation. If I have a patient like, here's a blood count, hemoglobin is like 5,
mm,
like I'm not like, oh my goodness, I'm the worst human. Oh, there, no, we're just like, what's the assessment and what's the plan, and
mm,
come up with that same mindset. So I like the idea of like hacking using what we
mm,
already are familiar with, what we're already great at. So we're already great at medicine and soap format. Act like with your finances like that. What's the assessment? What's the plan? Then execute the plan and then reassess. Like the patient's blood pressure in the hospital is 200. I give labetalol. What happens? And then I decide what other experiment or
mm,
hypothesis that I want to explore. So let's not make money be this amazingly unique thing that we put in this
mm,
special container like we've never done before. It's the same mindset, the same skill set that we've used. And kind of going even further back to the money stories that I talked about,
mm,
if you have been in any relationship before, if you're married or whatever, you've already decided for yourself that, okay, maybe I come from a great marriage family or great relationship, and these are the things that they did that I want to imitate, but these are the things I didn't quite like that I want to do differently. And we bring those knowledge into our own romantic relationship.
mm,
Or you're like, my sister dated a bunch of like punks or assholes, I'm going to do things differently. So you
mm,
already have a level of practice of how to take stories around you and deciding with intentionality what you want your story to be. But I think with money, we just don't bring that intentionality into it. So those are some of the things that came to mind as you were talking. But then now going to the question that you asked me about how women or your audience in general can help themselves if they're like, okay, this is where we are. How do I do all this stuff without shame? How do I improve things? Here's something that and my style of coaching. I'm a huge fan of identity, right? Identity is really important. You cannot grow an orange from an apple tree, right? And so when it comes to money, who you are, like the money you have in terms of numbers becomes a reflection of the work that you've done in yourself,
mm,
right? It's sort of like a seed as well. If you look at an apple tree, it's maybe, real without like, buying like a pre-plan, like, it starts with a seed, right? And you water the seed breaks down. It like there's a lot of internal work that happens before a seed turns into a beautiful plant that you can see. And the same thing happens with money. I'm not a huge fan of having, I mean, I want everybody to have cash, but I've met people that have like 8-figure net worth and like multiple 7 figures, multiple 6 figures, and yet there's just something missing. And the huge part of money and really wealth is your identity and your thoughts about yourself.
mm,
If you don't like yourself, there's no amount of shopping that's going to change that.
mm,
If you don't think you're amazing as I think you are, even though I don't need any facts about you, I mean, you will argue to like to the grave with me about how amazing I think all you all are. But the bottom line is those are thoughts that I choose. And in my opinion, they almost feel like facts because of how much I believe those thoughts about every human here, right? And the key is when you don't work on your thoughts about yourself, you're always going to think that you need something external in order to be able to feel up and feel the way that you want to feel. And if you don't do the work of your thoughts about yourself and changing your relationship with yourself, then yes, you're male. And there's nothing wrong with shopping. I go shopping as well. But then it's going to take a lot of things you're never going to be able to afford ever, because the list is going to keep growing and growing of what you think you need in order to feel a certain way about yourself. When every single thing you want to think and feel about yourself is literally accessible to you right now. It's just going to take practice,
mm,
choosing the thoughts and meditating on it until you start to believe it. So that's the work. That's the work, your relationship with yourself. If that changes, I promise you, it's almost impossible for you to not have money because you
mm,
don't need external validation. You don't
Mm,
need to buy. You could buy just because you want to enjoy it, but it's not
mm.
like you're buying to fill up space in your heart. You also are more likely to be confident in who you are. So you're more likely to ask for a raise because you know that getting no doesn't mean that you're horrible because you're like, no, I'm amazing. I know that already. So if they're saying no, it's just because they need some more data that I can talk to them about. So that's the work that I love for people to do because, in my opinion, that is how true wealth happens.
Oh my gosh, let's just stop right there. Just so many things you just shared. I think around the fact, and that's something I'm definitely noticing too. Like, the work you have to do is really on yourself first, because no matter how high you go, no matter how much wealth or money you earn, or it's never going to be enough if it's meant to fill up a void,
Yes.
really. And I think that is so critical. And so, when we talk about where to put your investment, how to diversify, like those nuts and bolts. And I think about myself, I'm a physician, I am well educated. I can understand those things. But if I have self-doubt, if I have this just negative thoughts about myself, then that doesn't even matter. That doesn't matter at all,
Yeah.
really. And one thing that this led me to segue, it led me to is this incredible, oh gosh, it's reading opposite. It's called the Wealthy Life Cards for Badass Women. Like, and this is by yours truly, the MoneyFitMD. This is what we get when we're in the school. It's amazing. It's been just so inspiring. And literally, as you were talking, I picked up two cards. As you were talking around just that mindset around working on your thoughts, because again, we're dealing with mind drama, right? The nuts and bolts of it we can figure out, because those things, like, are figure outable, right? But this is critical work we have to do on our inside. And those two cards that came with two, one was, what three things, oh gosh, it's reading opposite anyway, I'll read it. It says, what three things are you grateful for today? And that is so, I mean, we hear a lot about it. You have to have gratitude, you have to practice gratitude, you should have a gratitude journal. But to think that as you were talking, that was the first card that came up. I think that just does a thing in our minds where it shifts our mindset from scarcity, I don't have this, I didn't get this, how am I going to make this happen, to wait, what happened today? I am an incredible woman. I am strong, I am bold, I am confident, I'm resourceful, I'm a great parent, right? So just even thinking around those things, or you know what? The kids had dinner and it wasn't popcorn, like whatever it is, find those things. And it brings that shift to a place of abundance, because that's where we need to go before we can start to build that external wealth. We have to build that abundance in us. The second card was, what are your dreams? What is one thing you have today that was a dream of the past? Sit with it. And I just thought that was so powerful, because one of the things you talked about was journaling. Like, what do you want? What do you want? What's your dream? What's that dream you want when you're 70, 89? What's that dream for next week, right? Like, writing that down and sitting with it, and now reflecting to say, okay, what are things that I'm living in right now that were, dreams that I had yesterday? Because if those dreams came to pass today, then I'm going to get it. I'm going to get those things that I do want, that I see in the future. So I just wanted to share that because it was just so powerful as you were talking. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
I love it. I love it. And I mean, those are things that I believe. I mean, I
Mm,
made those cards. They're not available for sale anywhere. It's only exclusively for my women. And sometimes I do give them as gifts. Um, but and the key is this: people think that it's about how they just check, oh, yeah, I have this. I'm grateful for this.
mm,
No, the reason why you want things is because of a feeling that you think you're going to have. And
mm,
what I want people to know is like the feeling is actually available to them right now. So when you're talking about a dream that you had, that you live in right now, that you wanted from the past, it's because I want you to actually sit down and like enjoy it. Like I want you to drink it like, oh, that feels so good. That feels so, because that's what you think
mm,
you're going to do when you have your 7-figure net worth.
mm,
That's what you think you're going to feel when you're done paying your student debt. But if you're not doing those things with the things you're doing right now that you're kicking off your bucket list right now, it's not going to happen. So if you don't see the
mm,
richness, and I've shared this on my social media multiple times, if you don't see the richness that exists, you're not going to see the richness that exists, right?
mm,
Whether that's now or in future. So it's a habit that we need to build and join. And if the women in my program would tell you that when we're sharing our wins on Thursdays, when we meet every Thursdays, I always ask us like celebration, right? And even as of yesterday, I give you a hard time. I was like, you don't look like you're celebrating. I'm like, how come I'm the only person dancing here? And then we broke out into a dance because if we don't enjoy, this is what life is about. Like we're all praying for longevity. We're all praying to get to the age of 90. And I hope and I believe that, and I hope we all get it, right? However, if God says no, if it's like, no, let's enjoy the work we've done. And people make a mistake of coming from a poverty mindset and thinking enjoyment has to do with an amount of dollars. It doesn't. Anybody can celebrate things that cost a lot of money. It takes a badass to celebrate a cup of coffee, to celebrate just being by the ocean. Like, so I want us to like bring out the badassery in us, which comes from a wealth-minded perspective, so that we can do life like nobody else. We can enjoy it, and people are gonna look like you at you and go, it doesn't make sense that you just took a weekend trip only without going somewhere fancy, and you're acting like you were on top of the world. Yes, because you are badass enough to enjoy the true richness that life has to offer. And yes, there are many ways of having money. You can think you suck and want to have money from that place, and you will have money, but you're always going to think you suck. However, you can choose to think that you're enough, you're amazing, you're a badass, and then money just becomes a tool that you wield. And the beautiful part of it is when you do it this way, it's close to impossible to not have money, because you let money go, you invest more freely. You don't think if you don't have, you're going to die. So what that means is you're more likely to like let your money actually go work for you. You're less likely to want to think that you have to buy your children's love by buying them crazy expensive stuff that you may not be able to afford in that season of your life, right? So the bottom line is you're like, no, kid, you're good. You're good. I'm going to hug you. I'm going to spend quality of life with you. And what that does is it's literally when you do money from an abundant place, you don't have money and become abundant. You become abundant and then you have money. You create wealth. And that's the way that I prefer to do it. So
love it. Love all of it. This has been incredible. I feel like we could talk for like 3 hours on this,
but we don't want
but
to.
no,
I
we
need to
don't
go
want
have
to. We
lunch with
don't
my
want
kids.
I know, me too, me too. So thank you so, so much. Now I mean, I think I hope this has touched each and every one of you that is either watching it or is going to watch it later, just about how important it is to address this mind drama. And the way to do it is, it's not complicated. It takes some work, but it's not complicated. It takes some intentional work, but it's not. So where do we find you? How do we work with you? How do we get this set of cards?
So the best way to get me, if you want to, I have a podcast, which is the MoneyFitMD podcast. It's a joy and a privilege to do the things that I do on there and to have the guests that I have on there. So you can go listen to that right now. It's on Apple. Go subscribe and review and share. And I've heard I get messages from not just physicians, and definitely not. I literally have people that are like, men physicians that message me all the time, and even non-physicians that message me. So if you're like, I'm not a physician, I can't be in your program, that is a free accessible thing that can literally has the power to change your life. That's one. And I have the Money Coaching School, which is a community for women physicians, women that want to have wealth in an expansive way. It is the place that I wish I had when I was starting this journey. And what we have there is we have coaching, we have education, we have community. We will kick your butt. We will love you. We will celebrate with you. We will equip you. And everything that we do there is so that you can just own your badassery even more, because I truly believe that's what we all want. That's the wealthiness we want. And the way you can do that is, if we're Facebook friends, send me a DM. I would be happy to help guide you. But you can also go on my website with moneyfitmd.com. There is a work with me tab. You can schedule a call with one of our members of our team. And then the third way, which is not available yet, is the book that's going to be coming out. So this is like, I haven't even announced this. So this is, y'all know, because you're my money school. So I think you guys know, but I just found out yesterday that it's set to be published, to be released and available May 2nd, which is actually my birthday.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's going to be like a freaking big party. I'm excited for the book. I'm excited for what it's going to do in the world. And so that's something that anybody can have access to starting May 2nd.
Oh, that's incredible. And I'll put all those links. We'll definitely be on the lookout for the, oh, that's going to be so powerful, y'all. So definitely mark that date. This has been incredible. I mean, I knew it was going to be good, but you took it to the next level. So thank you so much. You know how much I appreciate you. And thank you
Thank you.
all for watching and for hanging out with us. Definitely check out Dr. Latifat and MoneyFitMD. Follow Restful Sleep MD. You know where I am. If you have any, if you're a high achieving woman who is trying to ditch that mind drama and really looking for ways to get you sleeping better from a place of get you from a place of exhaustion to a place where you actually can thrive, like in the literal sense of the word, then connect with me using the link I'm going to include, or send me a DM as well. And really good seeing you, Dr. Latifat, again.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for what you do and for bringing
Oh,
wealth through sleep. It's so
oh,
important. So thank you for
thank
having me
you.
here.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone. Stop it.